Welcome to the Shades of Havana podcast, where we explore the rich history and culture of one of the world's most iconic cigar-making cities. Ybor City has been synonymous with premium cigars for over a century, thanks to the pioneering efforts of visionaries like Vicente Martinez, Ybor and Julius Caesar, J.C. Newman, and the countless families and businesses that followed in their footsteps. From the bustling cigar factories that once lined Ybor City streets, to the boutique shops and lounges that dot the city today, Tampa's cigar industry has left an indelible mark on the city's identity and character. Join us as we sit down with the industry experts, passionate enthusiasts, and local legends to uncover the stories, traditions, and innovations that have made Tampa Bay the cigar capital of the world. Whether you're a seasoned enthusiast or a curious newcomer, we invite you to light up, relax, and journey with us into the fascinating cigar capital of the world.
Welcome to Tampa, where we are celebrating history.
Welcome to Shades of Havana, with your host, David Zimmel.
Welcome to Shades of Havana. I'm your host, David Zimmel. We're here in Tampa at the J.C. Newman Cigar Factory celebrating the 128th anniversary. I'd like to welcome our sponsors: Porsche Tampa, Boveda Inc., Visit Tampa Bay, Man Cave King, Bliss Mortgage, Rabbit Air. I'm here with the Newman family. If you guys don't mind, can you introduce yourself?
Eric Newman, third generation. Here's my younger brother.
Bobby Newman, 47 years here full time. And Eric, you should say you've been here for 50 years.
I don't need to, you just said it.
And I'm Drew Newman. I'm Eric's son, Bobby's nephew, and the oldest member of the fourth generation here at J.C. Newman.
So I really thank you guys for having us here. I must tell you that this place is really special. I'm in commercial real estate back in New Jersey, and seeing a warehouse changed into something like this is really, it's fabulous. We're actually in the rolling room, and you can see a crowd behind us watching some of their hand rollers. So you're celebrating your 128th anniversary. Can you give me a little background, when it started, how it started, and how we got to where we are today?
Well, our grandfather, J.C. Newman, was a Hungarian immigrant. He came to Cleveland, Ohio in 1888 in search of the American dream. Came with 4 brothers, 2 sisters, couldn't speak English, had to get a job. His brothers became tailors, that's what immigrants did, but he didn't want to make clothes. So his mother paid a cigar maker $3 a month to teach her son how to make cigars. Became a great cigar apprentice at the age of 15 in 1890, went business for himself in 1895 in Cleveland. In 1954, he moved the business from Cleveland to Tampa, where we've been ever since.
Wow, that's unbelievable. Now, you've been in Tampa in this building for how was this, from my understanding, was built for a cigar company initially, and then you guys purchased it down the road?
This factory was built in 1910 by the Regensburg family. They vacated the building in 1951. We moved here in 1954. Been here ever since.
Now, how would you say, being you're the oldest family in the country, still in the cigar business, how have you been able to sustain yourself and continue along? What have been the ups and downs over the years, the differences in the business, so to speak?
Dad,
I can talk all day.
You sure can, but what I would say, Dad, is you and Uncle Bobby talk about, of our 128 years in business, the vast majority of those have been challenging years. The good times come every so often, but it's a struggle, it's a challenge making beautiful cigars, perfect cigars every day, despite all the challenges that our company and our family has faced, smoking bans, tax increases, trade embargoes, you name it, there's been a whole host of challenges over the past 128 years that our family, through the leadership of my father and uncle, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, we've been able to overcome, and our hope is we can continue to do so for another 128 years.
When our grandfathers started in business in 1895, there were 42,000 licensed cigar manufacturers. You have the license to make cigars to pay federal excise taxes. That hasn't changed. And today, of those 42,000 cigar manufacturers that were around in 1895, we're the only one left. They're still owned and operated by the founding family.
So what is there a reason you guys think you made it as opposed to everybody? What was special about your family? Why did you make it and no one else could?
Well, can I offer?
Please.
We don't quit. My great-grandfather worked until the day he died at the age of 83. My grandfather died, your father died in your office, Dad, with you and Uncle Bobby right there.
90 years old,
and then
12
age
weeks.
90. I mean, you guys aren't going anywhere anytime soon. I'm grateful for that. But I think our family is passionate about making the best cigars in the world and making them better and better each and every day. And I think that type of resilience, persistence, determination, and an effort to make the best cigars possible, I think has been a real key to our success. We're not going to give up.
So it's interesting because I also come from a family business. My dad and I started our business in 1985. He unfortunately passed away 8 years ago, and I have 4 sons, but 3 of them work with me. And if it wasn't for my 3 sons, I might have had to decide to do something a little different, because I'm fortunate they're there to sustain the business and carry it forward. So I'm assuming the good news is that you had an interest in coming into the business. Otherwise, not that you were ready to retire, but there'd be no one to hand it off to.
No.
Well, you know, cigars are in our blood. You know, all my life I've been walking through this building, listening to my father, my uncle, my grandfather, trying to learn from them. But, you know, what do we do at Thanksgiving dinner? What do we do at birthday parties? What do we do on the weekends? We talk about cigars. We talk about our family history. Like, we're always talking and investing in the business. It's in our DNA. It's in our blood. And I think that type of feeling, that nature has been important to our success.
And it's also, as Drew and Eric were talking about, we survived the First World War, the pandemic of 1918, the Second World War, the Great Depression, cigar bans everywhere. I mean, it defies logic how well the industry, the premium cigar industry, is doing, not only in the United States, but worldwide. But I would say that if my father were here, our father, Drew's grandfather, he would say, because we've always been innovators. As an example, Grandpa JC, not too many people know this, he was the first person in the world to put cellophane on cigars. And I know many cigars are not sold in cellophane, but we think it's better to have cellophane for many reasons. Also, when we came here in 1954, there were 10 large cigar factories in Tampa making 500 million cigars using Cuban wrapper, Cuban binder, Cuban filler. And one of the reasons we moved, our grandfather, Grandpa JC, and our dad moved down here was because Tampa was like the Napa Valley of the cigar industry. If everyone in this room, if we're going to go in the wine industry in the United States, I would suggest we go to Napa Valley or Sonoma. Tampa was the Sonoma or Napa Valley of the industry. And everyone was selling the most expensive cigar that was sold back when we came here in the 50s was 26 cents for a Palma, which is like 6 1/4 inches long, 42, 43 ring gauge. And they were all box pressed. So our father, Stanford, your grandfather, had an idea. Let's be innovative. Let's do something different. Let's come out with a brand, a Cuesta, we call it number 95. We started in 1895, and it will be in the round. And instead of having a box of 50 cigars, let's have 2 bundles of 25 each in a ribbon and put them in a cedar box. And the brand took off until 1962, until the embargo. John F. Kennedy in January said no more Cuban tobacco, no more Cuban rum, no more Cuban sugar, no more Cuban anything. The 10 large factories in Tampa each had a 2.5 year inventory of Cuban wrapper, binder, filler. After 65, everyone ran out. So what did our father do? This is before Eric and I got in the business, before even Drew was born, of course. My father was lucky, but he believed in taking care of your suppliers. Everyone's got to make a profit. Someone came to him from Holland with this new type of tobacco no one in America had ever heard of. No one had ever used it before. No one could spell it. No one had no idea where this country was, called Cameroon. So Stanford Newman, our father, was the first American to bring Cameroon tobacco in the United States, and it saved our company.
Just out of curiosity, how did he come up with the name Cuesta? Was there...
Well, Eric, we all have answers, but Eric, you go ahead. We're all good talkers.
Cuesta Rey was founded by Angel Cuesta and Peregrino Rey in 1884. He had, our father knew after my grandfather died in 58 that we really need to get in the premium business. It's hard to get a premium brand. And our father met the sons of the owner of Angel Cuesta, his ancient Carl Cuesta, and they didn't have any children in the business, so we bought the Cuesta Rey brand in 1959. That's been the flagship premium cigars for many years. In fact, it's on top of the building, home of Cuesta Rey cigars. Now Fuente, our partner in the Dominican Republic, makes it for us.
Very interesting. Now, you're the only ones left in Tampa, Florida. Did you ever think about possibly leaving Tampa, or
No.
What was the impetus that you ended up staying?
Tampa's our home. You know, the United States has a rich tradition of cigar making that dates back to before the American Revolution. And we think it's important to keep the tradition of cigar making here alive in Cigar City, USA. We're very proud to have a beautiful factory in Esteli, Nicaragua, where we make some wonderful cigars. And we're very proud, as my father mentioned, to be partners with the Arturo Fuente family, who makes wonderful cigars for us out of the Dominican Republic. But we're American, and we're working very hard to keep the American cigar making tradition alive here in the last working cigar factory, not only in Tampa, but this is the last traditional cigar factory still operating in the United States. And it's a real privilege to be able to keep that legacy going.
Now, as a family, does everyone have a different responsibility as to what you do, or is
No.
it all...
No.
That's who you ask.
We all have titles. Does that mean anything? No. We're a family. Morning, noon, night, 7 days a week. We talk. We smoke cigars. We think about this business. Sure, my father's strength is analytics. He still does all the ordering and oversees all the purchasing and makes sure that we've got enough cigars, enough tobacco being aged to make the cigars 2 years, 3 years from us. My uncle has never met a stranger. He can introduce you to all the best cigars in the world and make sure that you enjoy one of our wonderful cigars. And I'm learning from them and pushing them to open up our business and really doing what we saw a few minutes ago, which is sharing the tradition of cigar making with the public and with future generations. So we all have our niche, but we all work together. And I'll say this too, and you're in a family business yourself. It hasn't always been this way in our family with your cousins and uncle and so forth, but for the last 40 years, like it's been amazing how you, Dad, Uncle Bobby, just worked side by side with your father and work with me, and we all get along and work well together and respect each other and compliment each other. It's so we all work together, and what a privilege it is for me to be able to spend my days working with my father and uncle. And
Well, you know, it's interesting you say that, because it is a privilege. You know, I deal with a lot of different companies, and I hear more often than not that family people can't get along, and they break up companies because the people can't get along.
Well, here's where 1985, I went to my father, Stanford, and brother, and we had 14 relatives, and I said, Dad and Eric, we either have to buy them out or they have to buy us out. It can't continue. We'd gone through 21 consecutive quarters of reduced sales. The industry back then was going down about 4 or 5% a year in units. It was. My father used to say that maybe we're in the buggy whip business. We were selling a product no one really needed, and not a lot of people wanted. It was a different culture back then. And so we took a chance, and a big chance. My father was 70 years old. He mortgaged his house. There wasn't a lot of money around. Eric and I turned there was no 401ks. Eric and I turned our IRAs in, and we put everything we had and into buying our 14 relatives. Ronald Reagan was the president then. Money was pretty easy to get, but we had 2 banks and the savings and loan, called a company, and called Freedom Savings. Everything was fine, and then the savings and loan industry collapsed. It started in Texas, and about a couple weeks after a highly leveraged buyout, when Eric and my father and I bought the company, a federal entity called the Resolution Trust Corporation, RTC came in, and they came in and they said, we are not investors. We want our money. And I remember, Eric, you were in that meeting, and we don't have any money. We give
you cigars.
Yes.
It
And
was a tough time in the 80s. But you guys overcame it through a lot of hard work, and you guys turned the company around and reversed the declining industry and really
We've been able
rose
to
to the challenge.
be around for so long. To be in business, you have to work hard, work smart, takes a certain amount of luck. We've been able to embrace change all the way around. After we bought out our relatives, some decisions in life are made with the head, some are made with the heart. And for about 4 or 5 years, I thought maybe the heart got in the way of the head. But at the same time, we formed a relationship with another Tampa cigar manufacturer named Carlos Fuente, who had the best manufacturing facility, we believed, in the Dominican Republic. He never had his own sales organization. We had a great sales organization. We never had our own handmade factory. So we started making Cuesta and Diamond Crown La Unica cigars for us in the Dominican Republic. In 1990, we started to distribute Fuente cigars. This is before the cigar boom. This is before cigar aficionado. Bobby runs sales. I run operations. Drew's fourth generation. We've handed him the baton.
But they won't let go.
Haven't let go yet. He keeps pulling at it. We talk about family businesses. About 10 years ago, one of our competitors sold out to a big mega company. Won't exactly mention names. The guy called me a week later and said, "What are we doing about succession planning?" I never thought about it. I thought we can carry our business to our grave. Then I started thinking about it. Well, we can't take it to our grave, to our casket. If we hadn't had a fourth generation have the interest, and Drew mentioned about the passion, we would get out of the business because you can't keep it on from generation to generation. When Drew was 9 years old, he always had an interest in passion. One time we had some visitors come in, and I was busy doing something. Drew was with me out of school, and they wanted a tour. Said, "Dad, I'll take care of it." That's fine, son. He comes back 2 hours later. He takes these visitors. Drew, he takes them to the factory. "What have you been doing for the last 2 hours?" I said, "Dad, there's so much cool stuff here. I could have been here 3 hours, but I figured you all would have got worried about me, so I just kept it 2 hours." 9 years old.
So you knew at that time he had it when it was time.
Well, I've grown up in this building and in this business, and
That's awesome.
it's a
That's
privilege.
awesome. We're going to take a short break, and we're going to hear a word from our sponsors.
Every one of us dreams. Some of us chase them. For 75 years, we've been driven by dreams. We dreamt in full color. It's what made us race towards brave ideas. We saw Salzburg red for 24 hours. We made a pink pig fly and went to green hell and back for victory after victory. Our dreams come in 500,000 shades and counting. Mint green, guards red, speed yellow. We've always been for the bold, the bright, and the brave. Even this guy. Our universe is one where dream is a verb, an invitation, A place where artists, racers, and innovators come together. The product of one man's dream. We've been undoing what's always been done. Together, our dream will color the next 75 years. Open your eyes. Take the keys. Join us here.
Shades of Havana and Cigar Journal thank you for celebrating and watching our historical J.C. Newman 128th Year Anniversary Series. As a sign of appreciation, we'll give you a 1-year free subscription to the digital magazine. Access the best information on the global cigar world at Cigar Journal. Scan the QR code and apply the coupon code SOH23 Tampa prior to checkout.
What's up, everybody? Chris Payne here, CEO and founder of the Fluke Apparel Company. In honor of this historical event, the Fluke Apparel Company will be offering a nice little discount for all you Shades of Havana, you cigar enthusiasts, conversational enthusiasts. All you need to do is go to flukeapparelco.com and at checkout enter the letters SOH and you will receive a 15% off discount of your entire purchase. For those of you that don't know us, we are a beach and golf apparel company formed right here at the Jersey Shore, and we are excited for you guys to be a part of our family too.
Visit Tampa Bay.
Welcome back to Shades of Havana. I'm your host, David Zimmel. We're here with Eric, Bobby, and Drew Newman at their cigar factory in Tampa, Florida, celebrating 128th anniversary. So, how many different types of cigars do you guys make? And
Too
where
many.
Where are you growing the tobacco today?
So the tobacco that we use is grown all over the world. Here in the United States, we buy from an 8th generation family farmer in Connecticut whose family's been growing on the same plot of land since before the Revolutionary War. And there's great tobacco grown here in the United States, but we also grow and source great tobacco from Latin America, the Dominican Republic, Honduras, Nicaragua, Ecuador, Brazil, Cameroon, Indonesia, Mexico. We have some Paraguayan tobacco downstairs. It's an eclectic mix, but we love the natural variety that tobacco gives us, that Mother Nature gives us, because we can play with different seeds and different soil types and different parts of the plants and take that natural variety and harness it to create unique and interesting blends. But in answer to your first question, we make too many cigars. Not really, because we're always making more, but trying to maintain quality and consistency of blends and the integrity of blends is a constant challenge given just the fact that we're dealing with a natural agricultural product. But we love cigars. We love creating new blends and new sizes, new brands.
Over the years, have you found a change in popularity as opposed to certain types of cigars?
Of course, absolutely. The cigar industry has been transformed over the past 128 years. If you were talking to my great-grandfather in 1895, everyone smoked cigars in the United States. The cigars they smoked were perfectos. They were short cigars, 3.5, 4 inches, maybe 30 ring gauge at most. They were short. And then over time, cigars become longer and thicker. Not only has the size changed, but also the type of tobacco being used. Cigars today are better than they have ever been in the history of cigar making, but they're also more flavorful. They're stronger, more fuller bodied, and the color has changed too. Dad, Uncle Bobby, when you guys started in this business in the 1970s, what was the color wrapper that you had on our cigars?
They were green.
They were green. Could you imagine smoking a green cigar right now?
What is it? They used to have the, what was it, the Optima or?
Optima.
Oh, yeah. They were all green. I remember them.
Right.
Candela cigars with the green wrapper. Right. That was the most popular wrapper sold on cigars in the United States. Now we have some Candela tobacco because it's fun, but you see very few cigars you see smoked have a green wrapper. And certainly over time, thinking about our friends in Europe and the English market selections, the consumer preferences in Europe were always for a lighter colored wrapper, so a creamier bodied. But over time, consumer preferences have changed and evolved. And I think that's one of our secrets to success too, which is being able to evolve with the industry and help lead the industry by innovating, creating new and interesting products for consumers to enjoy.
And mostly, where do you ship your cigars to?
91 countries. We have a bonded warehouse in Slovakia with our business partner there, who you know, Miro, and all of the United States.
Well, I was going to say, though, I think what's important in answer to that question is recognize that we're a family business and we're an industry of family businesses. And here in the States and in Europe and in Asia abroad, we sell to other family businesses, mostly mom and pop, cigar lounges, cigar bars, cigar stores in every corner of America and all around the world. Cigars aren't sold in mega stores. They aren't sold in a very franchise type environment. Cigars are sold largely one by one through family-owned businesses like ours.
Up there recently, 90% of our cigars are sold in this country. This is the biggest market in the world, not only for cigars, but for everything. Then now with Cuba making some of the decisions they've made, or the new owners from China, now it's about down to 85% of our production is sold in this country, and about 15% is abroad and growing.
So after the embargo, like in '65, when that changed, it was a struggle for a while after that. When did you see a turn where you thought that things are getting, for whatever, because I've noticed certainly in the last 10 years, 15 years, cigars have become much more popular.
Absolutely.
Cigar lounges have popped up. And I know all over it is difficult because with the laws, the smoking laws around, it is tough to get a license to open up. But how would you rate business today opposed to 15 years ago?
We can go back further than that. I got in, started our company in '72, 51 years ago. Bobby, a couple years later, business was pretty good, but it was in the '80s, business started to go down 4 or 5% a year. Business actually sucked. The only way you can increase your business, go out and steal your competitors' customers. And guess what? They're trying to steal our customers. It was really, really difficult. And it was a struggle. Bobby talked about maybe we're in the buggy whip business. But fortunately, in the early '90s, Cigar Aficionado came out, brought a lot of cigar smokers out of the closet. All of a sudden, cigars became real cool, real trendy. A lot of movie stars wanted their own cigars, athletes wanted their own cigars. Up in the '80s, if somebody asked me what kind of business I'm in, I'm saying I'm in the little business. It was almost embarrassing to be in the cigar business. Now everybody wanted to be in the cigar business. We had a cigar boom in the '90s, kind of leveled off in the about 2000, and it's come back last couple of years. And it's proud. It's kind of interesting. In the '80s, we had low taxes. You can smoke anywhere, no regulation. Government left us alone. One would think those are the best of times. Those were the worst of times. Now we have smoking bans. You can't smoke everywhere. High taxes, regulation. But business is good. We take this type of business environment over anything was in the early years. If you got a business, you can figure out the other stuff. If you don't have business, if cigars weren't popular, you got people like Reinhold here, who's not a glorified cigar, so he's educated the customer. The educated consumer is the best consumer. You got wines became popular, California wines in the '80s and the '90s, and cigars the same way. So Reinhold and others really has helped elevate the whole industry. It's brought a lot of cigar smokers out of the closet. I'm really proud that I lived long enough to see this day.
Yeah, can I add something too? Also, we all have two lives: BC before COVID and AC after COVID. Who knew? Come in March of 2020, we sent half of our folks here home and said, we're going to pay you, stay home, and then we'll call you in a week or two. And then we just went back and forth because of COVID. No one knew what was going on. Who knew people would stay home, drink a buttload of whiskey and alcohol, and smoke cigars? That was the second boom, but it's more than that. COVID was a disaster for the world. We had a cousin, a physician that died. It was terrible. But I tell you, it brought more consumers in to the industry. A lot of women came into the industry. People were sitting home; they couldn't do anything else, and it's like a rising tide raises all the ships.
Did you have to actually bring people back to work because of the demand for the cigars during COVID?
Absolutely. You know, when March 2020, when it looked like the world was shutting down, we followed suit, and out of caution to protect the safety of our employees, like we shut the factory down, shut the factories down overseas, implemented new procedures, but little do we know that we were running out of cigars very quickly because the demand just shot up. And fortunately, unfortunately, cigars being a natural agricultural product, you just can't turn the spigot on or off easily. And so when demand spikes, it's a real challenge. When demand plummets, it's a real challenge too, because of the lengthy time it takes to age tobacco and roll cigars and then age cigars. It's very hard to make fast adjustments in our business.
What would you say if I asked you what's your greatest accomplishment? You really thought about that one.
Well, persevering here. There's no logical reason that here we are 28 years later, when our grandfather became a cigar apprentice, went business for himself. There's no really logical reason that in family businesses, especially tobacco business, we've been the poster child, whipping boy of everybody in society, everybody in the government. We've defied the odds. So I think that just the fact that we're here, not only surviving, but thriving, and have the ability to pass the baton. One day I'm going to let go of it. And for Drew, the fourth generation.
Not anytime soon, Dad.
Drew's waiting for that.
Not anytime soon.
He keeps on pulling. But, you know, it's a testimony to our perseverance. You're talking about being able to embrace change. When I was in business, started here in 72, the average cigar, the big selling cigar, premium cigar, was a 42 ring, 6 1/4 Palma. 42 ring, all the Tampa factories, all the premium cigars were made in Tampa in the 70s. The whole country were made here in Tampa. Every factory had their own 6 1/4, 42 ring. Now if I gave you a 42 ring cigar, it looks like a damn Panatella.
Right.
People have changed. I'm smoking here a cigar our father came up with, the Diamond Crown, in 1995. He approached Carlos Fuente about making a 54 ring cigar. Carlos looked at him like he had a third eye. There was no 54 ring cigars. 50 was the biggest cigar popular, but Dad knew the thicker the cigar, the more tobacco you can blend at one time, maintain the quality of the cigar. So now the 54 ring cigar is what we're smoking now, real popular. But then you got 60 rings are so popular now. Some are 70, some 80, and some beyond. The ability to embrace change has been probably one of the main reasons we're still here.
Yeah, I actually like 60 ring gauge. It's I don't know, it's just mentally.
You know, you're right. I wish Dad were here to see this, because he came out with a cigar before we got in the business, a Rigoletto Black. It was his idea. Again, you heard what my brother said and what we said. The largest cigar made in Tampa was a 42 ring gauge. Dad, you remember he came out with the idea, this Rigoletto Blackjack, 48 ring gauge. He said, Dad, who's going to buy a 48 ring gauge cigar? It was a Connecticut broadleaf, and it took off, and to this day, we still make it in this factory. It still does very, very well. But the 60 ring gauge, my father used to say, people must have larger mouths to be able to smoke this. Our #1 selling cigar.
Don't take it personally.
#1 selling cigar out of Nicaragua, the Brickhouse Mighty Mighty, 6 1/4 by 60, and it's
a modern blackjack.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask you, what do you think is the most popular cigar right now?
You know, I'd say the most popular cigar is a cigar that you yourself are smoking. But I think obviously the most popular shape is a Toro right now, a 6x52, 6x54. But
Robusto, and then 6x60.
We'll see how the industry continues to evolve.
And finally, how do you guys want to be remembered?
Focusing on quality products in a business where we're providing moments of pleasure in a very hectic, a very stressful world. This is a crazy world out there. There aren't many places other than a cigar lounge. You can bring people in from 2 walks of life, and one could be a CEO, one could be a custodian somewhere, and there's a lot of crap out there, a lot of the stresses. You smoke a cigar for an hour, you relax, you become great friends, you talk about what's happening in the world. It's like you get off the merry-go-round we have in life for an hour.
It's amazing you say that, because that is the whole premise that we started our Shades of Havana, is that you go into a cigar lounge, you know, I've walked in, you don't know anybody. You sit down, all people from all walks of life, and everyone's friendly. It's great, and you forget your troubles for a while, and you relax, and it's a great thing. Well, I want to thank you guys very much. This has really been a pleasure. This place is amazing. I encourage anybody that has any interest in cigars to come down to Tampa and visit your factory. And I wish you guys continued success.
Thank you.
So I want to thank everybody, and all I want to know is, what are you smoking?
Shades of Havana with your host, David Zimmel, along with our guests, Eric Newman, Bobby Newman, and Drew Newman. Co-producers, John P. Doyle, Steve Zimke, and Kara Gragliardo. Producers, David Zimmel and Erwin Sternberg. Executive producers, Sean Sternberg and Michael R. Doyle. Directed by Rod Weber. Created by Michael R. Doyle and Rod Weber. Camera and sound, Josh Reamer, Oscar R. Urdaneta, and Rod Weber. Special thanks to Senior Editor and Chief of Cigar Journal, Reinhold Widmeyer. Co-founder of West Tampa Tobacco, Ricky Rodriguez, Kara Guagliardo, Monica Foster, and the J.C. Newman Cigar Company for allowing us to capture history at the J.C. Newman Cigar Company Warehouse in Tampa, Florida. Shades of Havana was brought to you by Tampa Porsche, Boveda Inc., Rabbit Air, Man Cave King, Bliss Mortgage, Fluke Apparel Company, and Visit Tampa Bay. Shades of Havana and Cigar Journal thank you for celebrating and watching our historical J.C. Newman's 128th year anniversary series. Access the best information on the global cigar world, everything that happens in the premium cigar industry, news, launches, personalities, awards, and above all, our cigar rankings and blind tastings. Scan the QR code where you will receive a free 1-year digital subscription to Cigar Journal. Our sponsors' websites and phone numbers are also provided in the show notes. When you visit our sponsors, you're helping them and helping our show. And if you enjoy Shades of Havana, we hope you tell your friends and give us a great rating wherever you get your podcasts. All opinions expressed by the Shades of Havana participants are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Shades of Havana, Inc., a subsidiary of MRD Productions, LLC. Shades of Havana is an MRD production.